Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. How are you? How are you? This is today's. Hi, Robin. Welcome. Got some shiny going on up there tonight. Oh, today. I don't know what's going on. Oh, well. Well, good morning, Kristen. Hope you are well. Been holding you on my heart. Hi, everyone. Hey, Yvette. Priscilla, good morning to you. Glad you're here. Hope things are great. And oh, hi. Oh, did I do that right? Somebody will tell me if I did that right. That. Good morning, Sharon. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, everybody. It is a new week with all that it's brought us. Good morning. How are you? Hello, hello, everybody. See some more. John, good morning to you. Glad you're here. Hey, Bonnie Braga. Glad you're here. All of the great work that Bonnie has done and continues to do to get our folks ready to receive Sunday school. So, if you a little commercial, if you have a Sunday schooler out there, a child that you know, love to have them in our program. Good time for a break from loading the truck for the fair. Nice. That's got to be a good feeling anyway, getting ready to go to the fair. Who doesn't like the fair? I hope. Good morning, Donna. Glad you're here. A little sailboat action this morning. My favorite mugs. How is everybody? Glad you're here. All right, we'll give it a few more seconds and we'll get on our way. Good morning, Cecile. I hope you're doing all right. How- Good morning. Wait till you see what I have for spoke models. I can guess. That's awesome. That's great. It's like the band's back together. That's terrific. So good. So good. It is so good to see each one of you to be here this morning. So let's get going. It is a joy to have each of you here, wherever you may be, whatever's going on in your life. If your heart is heavy, if your heart is soaring, if you are with us for the first time in a long time, or you've been here regularly in and out, welcome, welcome. Know that you are stumbled into a part of a community that will love you if you let them, that will pray for you if you let them, that will journey with you if you let them. Even though you might never find yourselves in the same room, you're a part of this group of people here and now. So this morning, I so want to welcome each of you here, and each as I look over to each one of your little digital faces, as I am wont to say that you and your little avatars there, you're an encouragement, not just to me, but I hope you're an encouragement to one another. I hope you're encouragement and that you know that you belong and that there's a place for you in this world. All right, friends. So I am of a particular age in which there was this woman by the name of Ann Landers who used to keep a column. And Ann Landers, in her column, would often give advice by the name of Dear Abby. And, as a boy, I was not one to read Dear Abby, but I actually ended up reading Dear Abby because our local paper, the Times Record, was, if you held up the whole paper on news, you might be able to see through it on any given day. Outside of the sports section of what was going on at Morse High School and the latest things that were happening at Bath Iron Works, there was not always a lot of news in our area and what was happening. And so there were a number of syndicated columns. One of them was Dear Abby, and I will admit now at my grand state of security and my masculinity at 52 years that I in fact did read Dear Abby and her column of advice giving. Now Ann Landers, has her wrote for this column for I don't know how many years, but she was asked what was the single greatest piece of advice she ever thought of or ever gave or ever had in the journey of her life and living, and it came to this, and so I want to begin our time today with just this sense. If I were asked what I consider the single most useful bit of advice for all humanity, it would be this: expect trouble as an inevitable part of life. And when it comes, hold your head high. Look it squarely in the eye and say, I will be bigger than you. You cannot defeat me. I think if we are to look at this advice that Ann Landers has, this advice giver that for decades wrote in papers, that for decades offered sage wisdom, not to just whether you were too old to wear your hair in ponytails, and by the way, you're not. If you think you can get away with a ponytail, you can, because life is fleeting and it is beautiful, and you should wear that ponytail. I don't care if you're a guy or man or woman. That's not the point. That we stand in this place with having listened to Ann Landers literally for decades, and she distills down to the single greatest advice is that we expect trouble. It's going to happen in our lives. We're going to have great griefs. We're going to have great heartbreaks. We're going to have great struggles. We're going to lay in bed and not want to put our feet on the floor and not take on the challenge of the day. We are going to want to blink when the moment comes. But I love the way she frames this, that to hold your head high and to look it squarely in the eye. When Paul is talking to the church in Corinth, we talked about it a little bit last week, he's trying to, again, his second letter to the Corinthians, he's trying to get through to them, and they're struggling. They are being oppressed in numerous ways. They're surrounded by the pagan church. They're surrounded there, and there's infighting in the ranks and outside. There are great struggles in their midst. And his advice to them is this: we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be seen in our bodies. Yes, we live under constant danger of death because we serve Jesus, but that the life of Jesus will be evident in our dying bodies. Man. Okay, that seems like a lot. But friends, have you not been pressed in this time? Have you not been perplexed? Have you not felt hunted down at least some point, even if it's just by your phone ringing and not wanting to pick it up, or hearing that ding of a message and wondering what sort of calamity might be on the other side of it? Have you not been knocked down in the living of this life? And understand that this that these things are to be stood and seen and looked at squarely in the face, to look them dead in the eye, all of the struggles that will come. Because the one who died and was born and lives again, the one who came into this world and overcame death itself, has not left us abandoned, has not left us alone, has not left us without consolation, has not left us without anything, but journeys with us day in and day out, even in our griefs, even in the ways in which we are pressed, even in the ways in which we get knocked down, even in the ways that we suffer. You will not be destroyed. You will not be abandoned. You will not be crushed. The days may press you, friends, and they will. But as Ann Landers says, I will be bigger than you, O problem before me, whether it be despair or grief or the persecution of the world or the breaking down of the things around you. I will be bigger than you, and you cannot defeat me. We cannot be defeated, for we are people in Christ for whom the victory is already won. I know that maybe in days your heart hurts. I know that your mind doesn't get it right. We are perplexed. I love that phrase. We are perplexed, but we do not despair. Holy smokes, there's plenty of days where that, for me, that perplexedness slips into despair. And yet, as the great author Tolkien always once wrote, he says that still round the corner there may wait a new road or a secret gate. There is in the living of our days, in every breath that we take in, in every breath we exhale, in every heartbeat, there is this notion that just around the corner there is some secret opening. There is some moment in which we will be thrust into beauty, where we will be lifted from our perplexedness, where we will be held in the hand of the God who made us. We're not. In ancient battles, there was this phrase in which there was this thing that happened, that the two battle fronts would come together. They were often long lines, and they would maybe shoot a few arrows at each other, but shortly they would crash into each other. And it was kind of like a big bounce, because they were in shields and armors, and they didn't move very hard. So they, what you see in the movies of them kind of like running at each other and that sort of thing, it was actually a little more deliberate than that. It was like dun, 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 and they would start to kind of grind against each other. And what would happen is that, and that often the way an army was defeated is when the leader fell. That if the leader got in trouble and something happened to the leader, often that all eyes, even in huge battles, we find this happening, huge battles, that if the leader goes down, then the army begins to break and lose confidence. And in fact, but even at that point in the battle, there weren't that many casualties. Not that many people had been stabbed, because again, they have shields, they have armor. Even though they were poking at each other, there was this kind of grinding that was happening. But when the leader went down, when the leader looked away, when the leader was no longer there present, that was the moment that the army often began to crumble in ancient warfare. And it was then that as they began to crumble and run away, that the pursuing army began to do all of its damage. Casualties were actually rarely taken in the initial battle. It was only in the pursuit. It was only in the running away that people died and lost their lives and were hunted down onesie twosies to be killed and run down by the opposition and by the enemy. Friends, you and I, have a leader in this battle that cannot fail and will not fall, and is always at the vanguard, at the very front of our struggles, right in the beginning and right in the midst, at the very edge, and that we can always look to. It is the true damage in our lives comes when, like Ann Landers suggests in her great advice, when we turn and run, when our perplexedness gives way to despair, when our confusion gives way to loss, when our troubles give way to being crushed, when our huntedness gives way to true abandon in our lives. I want to tell you today, friends, you have a leader, you have a king, you have one on the battle lines with you that will not and cannot and has not gone down, for the victory and the battle is already won. This is our promise in these days. So often the greatest difficulty for us is simply that we had an idea in our head about how this life would go, about how our lives were going to be put together, about how long we would have the people in our lives that we thought we would have, how long we would have the jobs that we thought we would have, how long we thought that the current reality would continue and not change, or that the troubles of our days would be other than they are, that we would not be pressed the way we are pressed now. And there is great grief in that, sometimes greater grief in that than the very loss itself. G.K. Chesterton says, you'll never find the solution if you don't first see the problem. And so often we are unwilling to look the struggles of our lives square in the eye and declare Christ is victor, declare that we will not be defeated. The great Joseph Campbell puts it this way: we must be willing to give up the life we've planned so that we can live the life that is waiting for us. There is no doubt in my mind, friends, that the life that you are living, that has unfolded over the past 18 months, is maybe not the life that you had planned. Maybe there are losses, maybe there are griefs, maybe there are difficulties, maybe there are ways in which confusions and perplexedness. But let not them give way to despair. Let not the troubles crush you. Let not the hunt have you feeling abandoned. Let not you, though you may be knocked down, for there is no shame in being knocked down, but let not you be destroyed. Rise again, and rise again, my friends. For we may be under constant danger of death, whatever that means, because we serve Jesus, so that the life of Jesus will be evident in our dying bodies. You know, we don't like to think about it, but you know what? Every day down is a day closer to home. Every day down, we come closer to that moment when we will expire our last breath, when we will step out of this world and into the next. That is not a sorrow. That is not a loss. That is a conscious idea that every day we may live with the knowledge of the true general to our front, with the true victor in our midst, with the true one who loves us ever and always, bringing us forward. If we'll but face the enemy as we find it, face our anxiety, face our grief, face our struggles, face our problems, face our difficulties. And just as me, as a teenage boy, reading Ann Landers in secret so that I might find out what the advice that she was giving in those days, so too might we hear her words. So too might we know that dear Abby and all the wisdom of the saints journeys with us in that grand advice. If I were asked what I consider the single most useful bit of advice for all humanity, it would be this: expect trouble as an inevitable part of life. And when it comes, hold your head high. Look it squarely in the eye and say, I will be bigger than you, and you cannot defeat me. You are greater than any trouble in your life, friends, because you are loved by the victor of the one over death. You are loved by Christ Jesus. You are loved by the by those in your life that you journey with and hold covenant with. You are loved, and you will not be defeated. Hold fast. Hold fast in these days, friends. All right, that is my hope for you, and that's my thought this Tuesday. I hope so. Tomorrow we're changing it up a little bit here at 11:11. Tomorrow is going to be I'm going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to start doing what I want to call I think quick hit Wednesdays. Is that I'm going to go live and I'm going to have a short little meditation, and then that will be it. Well, it'll still be at 11:11. It'll still be hopefully something worthwhile. But our kind of joining together community, maybe welcoming people, that might not happen as much, because I want to give you something that is a little more manageable in your day. I know I say it's 11 minutes at 11:11. It's never 11 minutes, is it? Mm-mm. Never. I never managed to fill it up. If it is 11 minutes, we all feel disappointed, me included. So I want to give you a little bite some little bite sized stuff in midweek, so that and maybe just maybe those might be a little more shareable to folks on this live stream, and you might find that. So please, if you want to share this journey with others, if you want to share 11:11 with others, invite others to this journey, I hope you will, because we are all encouraged and we are all strengthened as we gather. And we are all in this life facing great struggles, facing troubles, facing difficulties. But let us not be overcome, for we are loved, for we are known, and there is a place for us here. All right, friends. Peace and grace to y'all. We'll see you tomorrow with another 11:11.